Welcome back to Unplugged with Buddyred. Let's get into it. Good morning, afternoon, evening, and welcome back to another episode of Unplugged with Buddyred. We have another special guest today with dreams of being a full-time content creator, coupled with a drive and ambition. There is no lack of content on any platform as this creator grinds to the top. When not online streaming high-level content for his community and slaying the high-ranked lobbies of Fortnite, Kiffer enjoys creating content for other platforms. However, when taking time away from content creation, he also enjoys spending time with his wife and pup, or having some amazing LAN parties with IRL buddies. AKA Kiffer is always trying to level up his content to be the best. Kiffer, welcome to the podcast, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy. The pleasure is mine.
Yeah, man. So you want to go ahead and just start off with telling the listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Where to even start? Focused. How broad or specific are you talking? Like specific, like a full introduction, or like just focused on
how much
content
or little
and
you want to do?
Okay, great.
You can go from like the day you were born or 2 weeks ago.
So my name's Kiffer, AK_Kiffer on all platforms. Yeah, and I'm 28 years old. I'll be 29 in a week, just about a week from now. Not even, less than a week. I've been doing content for about 2 years now, and streaming on and off for the last 6 or 7. For a while was making videos, not game related, when it was more tech focused. And then when I started really seriously getting into streaming within the last year, that's when I started to just push clips to social media. So live streaming and content creation on like the gaming clips from stream side of things. I've been married for, we're going on 7 years now, coming up on 7 years. I have an Australian Shepherd who's going on 3 years old, and he is beautiful and crazy all at the same time. That's a little bit about, that's like very like broad, not getting too detailed yet. I know you got some questions lined up, but I've kind of been in the tech space, video and photography space my entire life. I've done a lot of live production stuff back in the day, so being able to like pull from some of that experience to like get the stream set up, have the content look top notch and whatnot helps.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell with the quality that you put into all your content. There's definitely that knowledge there for all that. That's super cool, dude.
And I don't even feel like I know that much, if I'm being honest. I think that there are people out there that know so much more. I just take the bits and pieces that I can put together from my experiences to create something that looks good to me, you know?
Right. But that's what it's all about, though. It's taking those bits and pieces and then always trying to expand on it. That's how
absolutely.
Anybody in any space is always, you see them as the top, but
yeah,
you start somewhere.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with starting where I'm at and starting, towards the bottom and like working up and like everyone says, 1% better every day. Like I may even like, I just set this angle. This isn't even my normal streaming angle. And I'm like, dude, I dig this. I may like reconfigure this for stream today. So
right,
just
that's
like
cool.
changing all the time, trying to get things better.
Yeah, exactly, man. So you have all the background stuff that you've been doing over the years, but when it comes to streaming, and now more specifically, since you're into that, you're really getting into the gaming community. Where did your gaming roots like begin?
Yeah, dang, that's a great question. Because with any diehard gamer, there's story there, there's history,
right?
And I know you've seen like from the LAN party, like the Halo LAN parties, that was just a peek into what it was for us back in the day. And I think so. My dad worked an IT job that, at least as long as I can remember, he was a professional painter back in the day. But after that, he did IT work. And so he would always bring home like hand-me-down PCs. They were trash. I mean, for the, in that time, they were maybe all right. Yeah. But like looking at them now, it's like, dang, that's all you needed to run Halo Combat Evolved, was just like that trash box. So that's kind of where it started for us, was Halo 1 Combat Evolved, playing multiplayer, pistols were OP, like, your Rockets only maps, like all those types of playlists. That's kind of where it started for us. Sure, before that, I have a very vague recollection of playing a Nintendo 64 at a furniture warehouse while my parents looked for a new couch. They had like a
Okay.
little corner the kids could hang out in, and we were playing Super Mario like on the N64. That's like the earliest video games that I remember, but then playing Combat Evolved on PC was like the beginning of the end, you know?
Right.
So we played Halo 1. I think Halo 1 was the one that we got into the most. And me, my older brother, and my dad would all play it together. And I remember that was like some of the most nostalgic gaming moments of my life. And then I remember my dad was not, I'm totally like throwing my dad under the bus here, but my dad was like not good at the game. I think he played it mostly because he wanted to do it with us, right? He was not that good at the game, and he was definitely a rage quitter, and like, yeah, that's a bad combination, right? And so I just remember there were probably 2 to 3 devices, like tech devices, anywhere from like computer mice to keyboards to headphones, that he had like, he would rage quit and he would like smash them against the concrete. We were like playing in a basement, so like concrete walls, right? And then finally he was like, I'm done. I'm addicted. I'm banning Halo from the house because it's clearly an addicting game and nobody's allowed to play it anymore.
That's hilarious.
So that's how it started. But you know that didn't stop us. You know,
Right.
like
Of
I remember
course.
nights when we would get up in the middle of the night when he was sleeping and go down and play. Like maybe addiction was the right way to put it.
Oh, video games are 100% addicting, just in
Yeah.
general. So yeah, that's the
So that was a thing, and then we played all through the Halo series. Not as much Call of Duty. Call of Duty was more like high school for us. And then yeah, that was kind of where it all started. Fortnite entered the scene, and it's kind of been that ever since. That's what I always come back to. I go back to a lot of older games, or I'm always willing to try new stuff, but then I always end up coming back to Fortnite, and that's kind of how I landed on where I'm at today.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's totally fair. I feel that. So have you always been a PC gamer? That's what it sounds like. Or did you ever have consoles?
Yeah, we had. I guess I kind of focused more on like the competitive shooter or FPS side of things. We did have a Super Nintendo that I played Donkey Kong. There was NHL. Like, wait, which one was that? Maybe that was on GameCube. Donkey Kong and maybe another Super Mario was on the Super Nintendo, and then we had a GameCube that we played a ton of Double Dash, Mario Kart Double Dash on.
Oh yeah.
Didn't play a ton of Smash on the GameCube, mostly at other like friends' house, but like it was mostly Mario Kart, and then we had our fair share of Animal Crossing in there, like some of those types of games. And I think the first Desert Storm game was on GameCube. I can't even imagine playing an FPS game with the little C stick that was on a GameCube controller.
That controller is something else, man.
Yeah, that's what we did. So we had that, and then we did have an original Xbox for Halo.
Okay.
Somewhere in there was Burnout Revenge. That was on Xbox, right?
I never had an Xbox. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. So that was kind of like the spread, but then PC took over.
But fair enough. I mean, PC Master Race, so.
That's what they say.
That's what I stand by at this point. No, that's really cool. Yeah, so I was a bit more like I was a pretty big Nintendo fanboy. So I get that aspect of the gaming stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't play Halo until I was in high school. I actually entirely missed it.
Which one was out then? Like what was the newest
I don't
one?
even know what was out then, but I played one of the old ones off a USB stick in the library.
Off a USB.
Like we'd get out, like we'd sneak out of class and just go play in the library and like hide in the back corner.
Dude, that was back when a video game could fit on a thumb drive. Like that doesn't exist.
I think it was like maybe a gig and a half, if that. Probably less. Less than a gig. It would just like do like some type of LAN party.
That's awesome.
It It was hilarious. And then we get in trouble and all that stuff, but it was a good time.
No, to be a kid.
Dude, I miss it. It's simple times. Simple times
Yeah.
for sure. All right, so now that we got your backstory, let's try to change up the gears a little bit and talk about the content creation and stuff. So, what do you find just, being a smaller content creator, having a normal life, and now having a type of 9 to 5 as well on top of that? Trying to balance the work life to pay your bills. You're also married, so you have to make sure that you have time for your wife and you're spending quality time with her. But you also have to be very engaged in creating your content, making sure that things are uploaded every day, having the consistent stream schedule, and also engaging with your community when you're not online. Even though I guess that would technically be online, but you know what I mean.
Not live.
Yeah. So you have to be in the Discord or on the social media and talk, and still being present, so people could still see you. How do you find that your balance with all that?
Yeah. Well, it's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
Being tired is just a way of life, and the only thing that keeps you going is caffeine and the fact that you love what you do, and that you know that, like, as long as you're smart with the time that you spend, you're gonna make it at some point. Like, it's not an if, it's a when. So, like, I think I'll go a little deeper than that, obviously, but, like, that's what I tell people. Because if you don't love it and you're not enjoying the process, then just get out. Like, you're wasting your time. I think that
I think that's a great general overview of how you need to go into it for sure.
Yeah, I think when it comes to balance, I think balance is important. Right now, I'm in a place where the 9 to 5 that I do have right now is not consistent. It's contract work. So some weeks are busier than others. I just came off a 40+ hour week just because there was work to get done. And so this week, my wife and I knew going into it that, like, it's basically like I'm out of town for business, but you get to see me in the mornings and in the evenings, which you wouldn't get to do if I was actually out of town. So that's nice, right?
That's fair.
So, like, setting that expectation is pretty important. And then, yeah, we knew that going into the week, so we didn't really see each other a ton this week. We didn't spend any time together aside from, like, waking up and going to bed. And so, like, that was okay for this week. It maybe wasn't great for our relationship this week, but we knew it was just a week. It had to get done, and now we're past it. Prior to this long week, we had, like, before I got this new job, the balance was not that difficult because it was like, we are in a place right now where our bills are very low. And so I'm, like, working a 9 to 5, but it's just my stuff. And then the evenings we kind of have together. So that's like kind of normal, right?
Right.
But then balancing, that's not normal for content creators and for streamers. Typically, people who aren't doing it full time and making money from it, they have a full-time job and they're trying to do this on the side. And that's like the real dilemma that people run into. So I'm going to focus more on that, I think. Having a calendar is, like, of utmost importance for my wife and I. I think it sets a good expectation. She's the kind of person who likes a plan, which is good for me to know, right? So, like, I try my best to have everything that I'm doing set in the calendar so that she has expectation of when I'm available and when I'm not. Sometimes things don't go quite as planned, and that's okay. But typically, we follow the schedule. I think that do what you can do and do it well, and just make sure. So, like, say you schedule out the week and you plan 2 hours, 3 nights a week to work on content. You need to make sure that those 3 hours are utilized, like, to the best of your ability. Otherwise, that's 6 hours. That's not a ton. But if, like, you don't use those 6 hours, you're putting out maybe one piece of content a week. And chances are that's not going to cut it unless you're making viral hits every single time.
Yeah, 100%.
So, like, I feel like when you have to pair self-discipline with that calendar, or with that schedule for it to work. It's one thing, like I'm guilty of blocking out every second of a schedule for the week. And then when I actually go to execute it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. What was I thinking? Because when you're planning it out, you don't think about like, how's your body going to feel that day? Do you have a headache? Like,
Right.
how's the caffeine hitting? Like, did you skip a meal? Like, what's your water intake? Like, you don't know how you're going to feel physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like, all those things play into how hard or easy a day is. And so,
Yeah,
I
100%.
think that having balance is good, but I think it's just a matter of like enjoying the process and being content with where you're at. So many people this will be like my last point. So many people focus on the end goal and where they want to be. And that's typically like the success and that they've made it and they're making money doing it. And that's great and all, but like for some people it takes years and years to get to that place. And so
Yeah.
like you have to be happy and content with a day where you go to work for 8 hours, come home, have dinner, work on a video that you may not even feel good about, right? You're finished with it. You're a perfectionist. You don't want to put it out. You put it out anyways. It does poorly. And then hang out with your wife and go to bed. You have to be okay doing that over and over and over. So if you don't actually enjoy that, then yeah, it's going to be a long, bumpy ride. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be able to enjoy the content for sure. But it's also okay to not have to have those days where you're like, man, this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But as long as you're able to move past that.
Yeah.
See, I mean, I've been making.
You got to be able to pick yourself up and not quit in those moments.
And that's what I can speak the most experience on too. Is I mean, I started making content in 2018, all as a hobby until really this past year, starting November of last year. But I have quit so many times, and I quit for almost an entire year.
Yeah.
Around 2022, because of that, where I was like, man, my content is kind of and not real. I was like, well, because it was either if I was making something and I didn't feel good about it, I just want to post it, and then I just never posted. And that's something I started to learn was just put it out there.
Yeah.
And the amount of things where I didn't think that the quality was that good, and I wasn't happy with it, but I said, screw it, I'm going to put it up anyways. People go, hey man, this was a good video. I enjoyed it. Thank you for posting this. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know why you like it, because personally, I still think it was a terrible video, but I'm glad somebody did enjoy it. I think
you come to terms with that, but you still hate that happens.
Yeah. And you're like, I know I can make better quality work than that, but it's also part of like the more content that you make, the more efficient you are as well. So what took you 12 hours to make before, and it was god awful content and looked terrible, like terrible quality and all that, suddenly it only takes 2 hours to get to that point. And then if you slowly keep improving, and all of a sudden you're starting to put out bangers super fast.
Yeah.
And eventually, if you as long as you can keep growing and you might be able to get some help, that also, I mean, that's what a lot of the other even medium-sized creators do. That a lot of people get help.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like, do you remember earlier days, maybe not early days of TikTok, but earlier when Project 50 was a thing? Do you remember Project 50 videos?
I don't think so.
It was like 50 days, 50 videos, and there were like set rules for it. Like you had to wake up and go to bed at the same time, drink a certain amount of water,
I know,
get a workout in, and something else. I can't remember exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I did like a variation of that because I didn't like consistently go to the gym, for example. But I did 50 videos, 50 days straight, and at first they were awful, and it was so much work. And like I was getting all these comments saying like, this isn't Project 50. You didn't go to the gym, blah blah blah, and all this stuff. And I just kind of laughed at them because I was like, y'all don't understand that like maybe I failed in your eyes, but like by the time I got to that, I even went past 50 days. I was like, dude, I'm on a streak. I don't even want to end this. I went to like 60 or something. And by the time, like comparing the quality of the content from the first video to the last, or comparing my workflow from the first video to the last, and the amount of time I had to put in from the first video to the last. I was so efficient at like, I would finish that video and I would get all the files transferred and blah, blah, blah. And I was just so much better at that process.
Right.
And even though I failed in their eyes, that set me up to like be really, really good at, you know, what I'm doing now. And so like, you got to take the videos that you don't think are good and that you put way too much time into. You got to do them and you got to put them out there. And then it's almost like you get to look back later and see the progress. Like people love the transformation videos. So like one of these days, I'm going to post one of my videos from when I started and pair it up with one that I have from like the present and be like, yo, look at this. And everybody's going to be like, oh my gosh, you did so good. Good job. Good job. But like they were calling me a failure the entire way. You know what I'm saying?
And nobody sees the hours and hours and hours behind the scenes that you put in.
Yeah, not at all.
Everybody only sees the end product. Nobody sees the grind.
And it's either good or it's bad.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think my recent favorite example of this is using Jinxie. Because he was that guy who started in 2019. And for, 3 years or something like that, he streamed to absolutely nobody. He was in the same shoes as everybody else who's a small content creator. Like, at a certain point, he was consistently pulling, like, double-digit views. But still, in the grand scheme of things, that's nothing. You can't go off that.
Yeah.
To, like, be a full-time creator, everybody's end goal, if you're doing this for that. And there's nothing wrong if people are trying to do it as a hobby. That's okay, too. But if you're trying to make it big, you've got to do that year after year after year of streaming to the same 10 people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then out of nowhere, he just exploded. And now he is where he is. But it was all about consistency. I mean, if you look at his Twitch stats, was it Twitch tracker?
I actually don't know. I've never looked.
It is, dude, it's insane. I'm going to pull it up real quick.
Yeah. I only have ever looked at, like, specific trackers for games. I've never really looked at Twitch tracker. Didn't even know that was a thing.
The one I use is twitchtracker.com. I can't type it today, apparently. Where's he at?
Jinxie's one of those
I spelled it right.
oddball streamers where he's good at R6 and like he's got the skill and the entertainment value. Like he's
100%.
over the top and funny. And those are typically the ones that do the best.
There's Queso. I always spell it wrong.
Course.
He started back in January of 2019. Then he said, and then starting February of 2020, a year later, he streamed a minimum of what looks like about 20 times a month, outside of like a very rare few where he got COVID in 2021. It was out for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside of that, there's literally, and even still today, he doesn't miss more than 2 days. He hasn't missed more than, I'm sorry. The most he's missed since then is 4 days.
Yeah. But that's probably an odd occurrence.
Insane.
He's like on a trip or something.
Yeah. I mean, dude is always live. And
his stream,
it's
I'm
just
not
about
going to lie,
consistency.
his streams are shorter. His streams are shorter.
Well, especially now they
He's
are.
like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to discredit him at all.
I
I always thought it was funny how his chat is always giving him crap for that.
But I mean, as a full-time creator, now that could be a little thing like where he could definitely up it. But that is what I consistently hear from big creators or just people in the space who are getting rapid growth and trying to help people. Like all I hear is, if you're going to stream, only stream enough to make content and then repurpose that content. You should not be streaming for 12 hours a day. You're not going to grow off that. You're going to grow off the site and just having you have to have your face everywhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I like to use Jinxie as the best example of what can be really just growing from nothing and making it all by yourself. It's just awesome to see. But to continue on the topic about growth, what do you do specifically to create growth, and what do you see benefit you the most? Because I already know what probably the biggest thing is for you.
Sure. Yeah, but
is your
not everyone knows
consistent posting.
Yeah.
But so what do you believe is working the best for you, and what you think is like really propelling you forward?
Yeah, there are a lot of things that I've tried, like you just mentioned. I've tried streaming on Twitch for 8+ hours. That is the last thing I would ever recommend, like you were saying.
Right.
The growth on, or like the organic growth or discoverability on Twitch is pretty awful for smaller creators,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the niche that I'm in, Fortnite.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing you'll always hear from people who are giving advice is like try to stream games that have a smaller viewership, because there's still a large like community supporting that niche, but you'll just be, the discoverability is way better. And so they're like, for example, I was playing through a lot of the Need for Speed games. Need for Speed Payback and Heat, I believe, were Heat specifically. I was averaging double-digit concurrent viewers on Twitch, and
Wow.
that was just from Twitch. Like, I wasn't, like, sure, I was posting on my Instagram story like, hey, I'm live, like I always do, but like, that was people on Twitch finding me, because there are only 10 people streaming Need for Speed Heat, but there's still a fairly large community around that game. And so those were some of the most, like, I was considered a variety streamer, but I was scrapping every other game because I was like, this feels good to me to like just play Need for Speed and have 15 people in chat, and like to be able to raid out at the end of stream with 15 people feels like you're on top of the world. And, like,
Right. Yeah.
having people want to play and like setting up incentives where people could play, and it just felt so good to get that kind of attention. But then I realized, like, that's cool, but as soon as I moved on to a different game, those people just kind of disappear. Maybe there's like one that stuck around, I can't remember, but like those people are gone because you're not playing Need for Speed Heat anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think that for variety streamers, having games that do give you that kind of attention to play once a week, that's great. A game that you find the most fun to play once a week is great. Or like kind of a split of the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, but fortunately, I land on Fortnite as like my niche, specifically right now, Reload.
Yeah.
That's my baby. So like, I say fortunately and unfortunately, because unfortunately it's a very saturated game to stream. It's one of the biggest
100%.
games in the world right now. And so I'm not even at the bottom of the list. I'm like deep in the bottom middle of the list, where like, even if you filter smallest streamers or like least amount of views first, you got to scroll through thousands of these like console no cam streamers to even find me. So I'm in like the worst spot. I'm not at the top, I'm not at the bottom. I'm like just under under like the middle toward the bottom. So it's like, I feel like it's one of the worst places to be. The fortunate part about it is that I found a game that I love enough that I can play this much and stick with it, and I haven't burnt out. Like, I'm sure if I was streaming 8 hours a day, I would burn out on it in a week. But like, that's the fortunate part of it. So that's just speaking on Twitch. I think that when it comes to growth and what works and what doesn't work, I think that there are so many things that play into that, and so many things that I've tried, and so many things that I'm like not capable at trying, because like I'm not the most incredibly skilled Fortnite player. Obviously, people will watch someone who's super skilled. I'm good. I'm not saying I'm bad, buddy. I'm just saying I'm not the best, right? I'm not playing. Like, in cash cups, I would get whooped, and that's like bottom of the totem pole for pro players. And so there's like the people who are stupid skilled at a game that they could not talk, have no face cam, no nothing, and they would get viewers just because of how good they are at the game. And then there's people who, like Queso, for example, is incredibly funny and very entertaining. So that's like another characteristic that usually does well. And then there are some that are a combination of that, right? So like, I have decent skill, and I wouldn't say I'm incredibly funny. I have my moments, and I'm like entertaining in ways
Yeah.
My wife thinks I'm funny. That's all that really matters to me. As long as she thinks I'm funny, then we're good. But I have my moments. So like it's like somewhere medium across the board, which I wish it was better or leaned one way or the other or whatever. But I realized that I had some skill in Fortnite, especially in the reload stuff, because you can just get into the action quick. And being able to take those clips and post them on social media,
Mm-hmm.
that really helped. And I'm gonna dive a little more into that because I think that social media, every platform has an algorithm, right? And people talk about algorithms all the time. The word algorithm and content creation and blah 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 blah. I'm like kind of sick of it at this point, but like every platform has an algorithm and every algorithm is there to like help and support you. I know it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
But that's the idea of the algorithm, is to take your piece of content and put it in front of the person who would enjoy it the most. Because so in turn that helps both people. It helps the viewer and it helps the person creating the content. And I think there are certain things that you need to understand to like utilize that well. For example, and it's hard when you're a variety streamer, man, because it's so saturated and it's not very niche, right? So like
Yeah.
when you're a variety streamer and you're posting a variety of different games, in my experience, that confuses the algorithm. It doesn't know who to push your content to. Like even if the algorithm knows who is a variety content consumer, that is just such a broad umbrella term that like
Yeah.
it's not going to take you very far. And so one thing that I noticed is pairing consistency with the same niche. So in this case, it's Fortnite clips, specifically, like there's all sorts of Fortnite clips, right? There's like subgenres, basically. Fortnite, Reload, maybe a little random duo, but like those ones haven't done as well. And then like decent clips. So like I don't know if this actually helps, but I use like Fortnite clip of the day, or like Jinxie kind of coined that term, you know, clip of the day, clip of the week, clip of the month. That's like his thing.
Right.
But like that's way more specific. And so the algorithm learns the more you consistently post the same specific niche. The algorithm's smart. It sends it. It's like with TikTok. You ever notice like the view walls, right? There's like 250 views. There's like 600. There's like 1,000 to 1,200. There's like these view walls, and what it's literally doing is sending your video to a test of people, a group test of people, and depending on the engagement that it gets, it decides, am I going to push this to the next group of people? And I would imagine Instagram does the same thing. Maybe it's less obvious. I would hope it's less obvious because TikTok does not hide it at all.
No,
My videos are
TikTok's
250 views consistently, right? And so, but when you're consistent and you have the same niche, or like the specific niche over and over and over and over and over, the the Instagram algorithm is learning who to send your content to. And that's what you have to be consistent with. When you throw in that video, that's why I don't post nothing other than Fortnite. Sometimes I play other games, and like I have good clips, like from Supervive, for example. I had some bomb clips, but I was like, I'm not gonna post them. I'm gonna clip them. I'm gonna trim them up. I'm gonna put them in a folder so I can watch them later if I want. I post them on my story sometimes as like extra clips, but I'm not gonna post it to my feed because I don't want to confuse the algorithm in that way. And it's like, okay, now all of a sudden we can either send it to the same group as your previous videos and it's not going to do as well, or like we don't know who to send it to. It's just like, I don't know, it gets messy. So what I've found that's worked has been that, and I've seen growth from that. From a follower standpoint, it's been like slow and steady. It's a handful of new followers on Instagram a day. When it comes to views, like, I mean, in the last month on Instagram, I actually should check. The YouTube one is the YouTube is what I've been tracking more. Let's look at YouTube real quick. I've done 300,000 views in the last month on YouTube.
It's not bad at all.
Yesterday, I hit 200 new subscribers in the last month on YouTube, and watch time is just over 2 hours. Fortunately, to monetize on YouTube, watch time is not actually the analytic that they look at. Goodness, because there's no way I would ever get that. So that's on YouTube, and then Instagram. The Instagram dashboard is not nearly as helpful, and it's showing me the last month. Accounts reached 234,000. Where's like the overall views? That's what I want to know. Anyways.
Yeah, Instagram is kind of weird with the analytics.
I've consistently had videos anywhere from averaging from like 2,000 to 4,000, and then some videos that have gotten. I actually wonder if I had my first 100,000 view video, dude. I haven't checked in a couple days. It was at 90,000. I'm gonna look. This could be the moment. We could all experience this together.
Is it a W?
I'm excited. Dude, I have so many videos to scroll through. That's the crazy part. Dude, it's at 99.5.
That's gonna hit 100. I'll hit 100 soon.
500 views away from my first 100,000 views. Okay.
You have to recheck it tonight then.
I'm getting distracted. So yeah, consistency, specific niche, do that. The algorithm will figure it out. Whether, like, buddy, like you were saying, whether your clips, you think they're good or mediocre or bad or excellent, like, it doesn't matter. There's somebody out there who's going to watch them. It's just a matter of the algorithm understanding what you're presenting so that it can present it to the viewer. What do they call it? I'm blanking, man. The viewer that should be getting your content. And this is where I'm a novice, bro. No, I'm just kidding. Dang, I'm really blanking on the term, man. The intended audience. I think that's what I'm looking for. The intended viewer. Just put it out there. Be consistent with your posting. Be consistent with your niche. That's what I've had the most success with, to answer your question.
That was a
99.5, bro. I'm shook. That's crazy.
You need to recheck it tonight. You'll probably hit it.
I'll be there.
That's awesome though. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think what you've been doing, like, how long have you been consistently doing let's just say 3 days, because you just switched to 4 with the re-uploads of a few.
Yeah, we can talk about that too.
How long have you been doing the 3 a day?
Since the 10th of last month, so a month and 3 days.
So what were your analytics looking like how consistent were you before you started doing that, like with the uploads?
I mean, it was like 1 a day.
Okay.
It was pretty consistent with probably some gaps here and there. Like you said, like, I also went through phases where I wouldn't post for like a couple days, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
but that was when you were doing the variety stuff?
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, see, like, that's what I think I struggle with the most is, like, there's days where I just don't want to play Fortnite, but I won't have clips if I don't.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the same niche right now, where Fortnite is what gets the best numbers, and I see the most growth.
And I've had similar situations, too, where I'm like, Hannah, I'm sorry, I did not get enough clips this morning. I don't really want to go play Fortnite right now. Like, it's the evening, like, this is usually when we'd hang out. But if I don't, I'm not gonna have anything to post.
Yep.
Like, it happens sometimes, you know. And then you go hop on Fortnite solo dolo, but then you're focused. You know, it's different when you're streaming. But when you're just there for clips, you're like, give me the mammoth pistol, give me some shocks, and like, let's make this happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because you don't have that. You have your full because you have your full focus there, and you don't have to be conscious of chat and everything else on top of that. So yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit easier to hit those crazy shots and stuff. But yeah, it's I think there's a lot of good and bad to being the variety and trying to be a niche.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with either. In my opinion, what I would say to somebody who's on the outside in trying to see how they want to get into content creation, if they don't see themselves being able to be that niche, when it comes to streaming, start your stream with the niche. Always upload your niche, but once you play an hour or two of your niche and you have your regular viewers come in and they're chilling and chatting and talking and all that, that's when you can kind of switch up to your whatever you actually wanted to play that day and get that variety in.
And you got to be okay with that, with like things falling off when you switch too. Like, Because especially if you're just posting Fortnite clips, people who come from Instagram, and that's the hope, right, is to like have people come from other platforms.
Have that
to Twitch,
cross-pollination.
right? So like if that's the case, you got to expect those people to leave when you switch games, which is just it's just the
it's
harsh
just
reality.
how it works. Yeah, I mean, it's already been 45 minutes. It's been a great conversation.
Dude, I'm chilling. I don't have nothing going on.
But I mean, I think overall we've already hit everything content-wise I want to talk about. So, well, that's not quite.
I guess I have one other piece that I want to throw in. I don't know if you have other questions that are related to content that may have to do with this, but posting consistently is great. But one of the biggest wins for me has been uploading multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically because if your videos are averaging 2,000 to 4,000 views or whatever they're averaging, say it's 500 views, say it's 10,000 views. If you post one a day, then you get 10,000 views. If you post 2 a day, you get 20,000, and 3 you get 30. If that's the consistent numbers, then it's almost like the more time you put in, the more views you get. And that's not normally guaranteed. Like it's never guaranteed.
100%. Yes,
But, like,
because especially if you have those videos that flop, then if you only do one a day, you get 2 views.
Yeah, exactly. So the last month for me, I've posted 3 videos every single day. And that's how I was able to hit. Like, I would be at 100,000 views, which is still great, don't get me wrong. But because I did 3 a day, I'm at 300,000 views. So we've literally tripled the amount of views. I don't know that really maths perfectly. Like, it's not going to be 100% consistent. The idea is there. The other thing is, people that follow me, from what I've heard from them, when you post 3 times a day, nobody else is posting 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So every single time your followers open up Instagram, you are either the first face. I know I am for Buddy. Yeah. I know I am for Buddy. I'm the first video that shows up on his feed every single time he opens up his phone. And then I upped it to a 4th video today where I'm repurposing one from like a month ago. And the reason I went with that was because I wanted to up it to 4, but I didn't want to really increase my workload. And on top of that, according to my Instagram analytics, like my videos get shown, it's like 95% to non-followers. So like either my followers missed the video or they're people that don't even follow me and have never seen it, right?
Right.
So adding that 4th one in was kind of a no-brainer. And dude, some of those have done like 3 to 4 times the views they did a month ago. Now that like the algorithm actually understands where I'm at and what I'm doing. So that was like a huge dub for me. So like when you post more often, guess what? You show up more often in other people's feeds, and that helps you build your brand. That helps you build your image. People recognize you. Even if they don't follow you, they see you often. And sometimes it takes like a handful of posts for somebody to be like, you know what? This guy comes up in my feed a lot. Like, I liked every single video that I've seen from him. I'm finally going to give him the follow, even though it's like been 10 days or a month or whatever.
I can say as a viewer, because
I do that.
Like, I'm the exact same way. There's one, way back when, there was a dude I subscribed to on YouTube. This was like way before TikTok or any of that. I subscribed to him, didn't really, and then I was like, I'm not feeling it. I subscribed to him. And then his videos started popping up. And he bettered his content. This was like months later.
Yeah.
And I resubbed to him, and then I got fucking addicted to his content.
Yeah, and maybe you just didn't like his first one, but that was just like the luck of the draw, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And now with TikTok, it's the same thing. I hadn't followed anybody on TikTok forever, and then I just followed like 5 people last week because they just keep showing up, and I'm like, and I keep watching their content. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, I can still hit the plus button, so I hit the plus button.
Yeah,
and you know that's
hard.
That's
to
all
do.
it's about, though.
Every ounce in my being to hit that follow button.
Because I try to keep my followers low because I don't want a lot of spam just because I like somebody's one video, but
I do be spamming. I'm not gonna lie.
But if you keep seeing the guy, because also the thing is too, if you keep watching the person's content, even if it's not the full video, if you're watching at least half the video of that short, they're going to show up again.
Yeah.
And if you keep watching that, they're going to keep showing up. At some point, you're going
That's
to be
the algorithm learning you.
yeah, and then at some point, you're going to be like, all right, maybe I actually do like this guy's content, and then eventually, it's like, okay, so I keep seeing this guy do clips. When does he stream?
Yeah.
And then it keeps it's kind of a snowball effect almost, but it's over probably weeks or if not months.
And that's where consistency comes in as the creator.
100%.
All right, that was all. That was all.
I mean, I'll say for the consistency standpoint,
Yeah.
like, you know, we've talked all like in the DMs and all that, and consistency is always my biggest struggle. I'll stream 3 times a week. That won't ever change. But getting my ass to upload anything consistently, even just shorts, is so hard. Like, it's what I struggle with the most. And just over the last 2 weeks of making sure I have at least one thing a day, and now I'm trying to make sure I have 2, and you just slowly build it up. I don't know how consistently I'll be able to do 3 because I can't stream enough to make that amount of content, or in general. But even if I can have 2 a day, I've already seen my numbers jump up to where I was this time last year.
Yeah, you can ignore that.
There you go.
It's just a note for later. There's something I want to talk to you about.
Okay. But like, yeah, it's like consistency. It's slow. Do it for 2 weeks, and you'll see how fast it already pays off.
Hell yeah, brother.
Anyways, to get off the same topic we've been talking about for the entire time.
I mean, that's
and just
the meat
shake it up a
potato.
little bit.
That's why we're all here.
Oh yeah, 100%. What are? I guess it's gonna keep saying the same topic, but what are the content creators that you look up to and you admire to like learn from and possibly like game with one day?
You know, it's interesting because I don't know that there are a ton of Fortnite creators or Fortnite streamers that I've looked up to. Obviously,
it doesn't even have to be Fortnite, just content creators in general.
Well, you had said to game with specifically, and I was like, I don't know that. Like, there are creators that I look up to from more of a variety standpoint, or maybe from like the tech niche when I was digging into that a little. But I would say when I was like into the tech stuff, Jayhawk is one of my he's one of my favorites.
I know him.
You know, he's got Lab Culture, his clothing brand. I absolutely love what he's been doing, and we live in the same city too, which is cool. That gives me a glimmer of hope that someday we'd be able to link up or something. But I've definitely looked up to him for a few reasons. He is incredibly dedicated. I mean, that's what his Lab Culture brand is all about, is like just spending time locked in the lab. Like, it's very, like, the terms almost sound cliche at this point because people throw them around so much, but he is a great example of what it means to actually be locked in and consistent and organized. So I've always looked up to him. Also, Big E, they're all part of the same group. Big E, and then there's one other who I hadn't seen as much in my feed, but is also part of that inner circle. I can't remember his name. He used to make like Activision skit videos where he would like pretend that he, like, the skit would be of people that work for Activision and are working on Call of Duty. And
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So I can't remember his name, but like that group I always thought was great. I liked Big E because he always keeps it so real, and he's not gonna like you watch a piece of his content, and some of his stuff is skits, so like there's some humor, and I enjoy that. But then there's also stuff where he's just like, he's not beating around the bush at all. He likes what he likes. He knows what he wants. He's going for it. So like, I think those are the reasons I appreciate and look up to those two creators. I've always, since like back in the day, been a huge Low fan. Obviously now he's a 100 Thieves creator and, you know, living in LA with some other really, really talented creators. I've been following him, but I've been following him since he still lived with his parents and had like his streaming gaming setup in his bedroom and was making tech videos about that. And he streamed a lot of Valorant. He doesn't stream as much anymore because he's been very focused on like, dude, he's had like penthouse apartment that a lot of his content is focused around like decorating it. And so like there's like adding
Okay.
new pieces to the apartment, or day in the life video living in LA, that kind of stuff. So his stuff is,
More of like vlog content type.
yeah, vlog content slash not product review, because he doesn't really go super in depth with the products, but he like showcases them, right? And then like
Okay.
now
Yeah.
he has done a bit more sponsored work where it's like he's reviewing like the Meta Quest, or like everybody went through the pickleball phase, and so he's reviewing the Meta Quest, playing pickleball, VR and that kind of stuff. So I would say there's probably people that I'm missing, because there are like, those are just like content creators, like they're content focused as opposed to streaming. I think when it comes to streamers, I don't know. It's a little bit harder for me when it comes to streamers, because there are a lot of streamers out there. It's easier. I don't watch a ton of streams. I think that's part of the difficulty. With content, it's easy
fair.
to consume vertical, short form, a minute long, bite sized pieces. Whereas when I don't feel like I have the time to consume streams, but I go through phases. So like I went through a queso phase, I went through a Jinxie phase. I've gone through multiple ninja phases. Like that's a thing. Tim the Tatman.
Yeah, I love Tim.
Who else? There are some smaller honestly, there are some smaller creators that I knew back in the day that I like personally was able to help, like anything from like helping them build their first gaming PC, or like stuff like that, just like helping and supporting them when they started, and then they're like partnered now, and I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's so
I know
cool.
a lot of people like that.
And like I'm not even saying that I played any huge role in that success. Like that was all them.
But no,
There are
actually
people
being
that,
able to know them personally
yeah,
to a
yeah,
level
to
like
know them
that.
personally, and it's like, yo, that is so cool. And I think those are the people that I look up to, because it's like that feels very tangible. A lot of the bigger streamers that I just threw out there, like that is great work on their part combined with incredible luck. Like those two just met. It was the right place, the right time. And I hope that for myself and for other people that I know, but like I think the ones that I really look up to are the ones that actually like are grinding and don't get the luck, if that makes sense. I'm not saying the people that got the luck aren't grinding. I'm not trying to like downplay that at all,
I think the thing about it too, though, is like, I mean, outside like the newer ones that are kind of like the lucky ones, but granted, I don't know a lot of the backstory of certain ones, but I think it's hard to use like Ninja and Tim as like, all right, so what did they do? Oh, they just streamed a lot from the very fucking beginning.
Yeah.
Like they're the dinosaurs of Twitch.
The dinosaurs of Twitch.
Like they were there between, like Ninja was streaming on Justin TV. He was like I think he was like one of the first like ones that the CEO reached out to. It was like, hey, do you want to try this partner thing that we're thinking about?
Yeah.
No content creator now that's trying to grow can ever look at these guys and be like, all right, I want to be like these guys. What did they do? Well, I can't do that. I don't have a time machine.
Yeah,
So,
right.
But things that, well, to a degree,
I was going to stop you there and say the same thing.
because they are, but they like, I think so you can't look at their entire career and say, all right, what did they do in their career that I can follow? But you can still look at what they're doing today and go, okay, so this is what they're doing. This is what's working for them. And why is it working for them? Because they still upload. Like, I think Tim the Tatman is still, for the big creators, is my absolute number one role model for. I mean, he has a team, which makes this all possible.
Yeah.
But he has like 20 fucking channels at this point. It feels like
It's insane, right?
he's always that has daily YouTube uploads. Now he has a 24/7 Twitch channel that always runs a VOD of all of his past content. Yeah. And so like, but it all boils down to what we've been talking about the entire podcast, is just consistency.
Yeah. Oh, I think the bottom line is just putting yourself in the right place over and over and over and over. Because even like you said with Ninja, when he first started, like, in the future, there are going to be new streaming platforms. There are going to be new social medias.
So many people have been trying, and now there's Kick and everything else too.
Exactly. So like the same thing that happened to Ninja could happen to you. It's just a matter of like for the new streaming platform to reach out to you For you to even have the chance for them to reach out to you, guess what you have to be doing? You have to be streaming consistently. You have to be outputting consistently. People have to see your face and know what you do. And guess what? The only way to do that is to do it. That sounds so stupid and cliche to say out loud, but that's what it boils down to.
That is
like,
what it is.
If you're like waiting for the right time to get started, it's past.
It'll never happen.
It's past. Like you need to be consistent and building your brand so that when that opportunity comes around, you're ready and you don't blow it and it doesn't sail on past you.
Yep, 100%. And I don't know if it was exactly an opportunity, but I still kick myself to this day. Over the summer of 2021 I made a TikTok of, I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but there's this couple and they had a baby, and it was the baby in the dad's lap with the headset on, and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, we're going to bed," and they're playing like COD or whatever. And then I stitched it, and I kicked the bedroom door, and I said, "I want a gaming buddy."
Yeah.
And that went, and I don't know how viral you can even say it went on TikTok,
Sure.
but it had like 5 million views or something like that.
I would consider that viral. If it passes 1 million, I would say it went viral.
And from then on, like, my TikTok popped off then for months, and I was really good on the TikTok side of it, and I made hundreds of dollars off TikTok after that, and then I just let it go. Granted, I was in the military, so I had trainings I had to go to, which took me away for weeks at a time. But I did nothing, absolutely nothing outside of TikTok to propel that in any type of way.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest fault in my content career.
Okay, well, hold on. I'm going to stop you there, because what did you learn from that?
I mean, I've fully learned to always be ready and to continue on. I think the consistency thing, but to focus more on the other sites as well as just TikTok, or just a single site at a time.
Dude, that lesson is so valuable, and like you wouldn't have learned that if that didn't happen. I know that looking back at it sucks. I've got a buddy who always tells me this happens probably every couple years. He'll mention that he feels like he threw his 20s away. He's actually one of the guys in the content Discord that you just joined.
Yep.
Says he feels like he threw his 20s away, wasted time, blah 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 blah. And I always stop at him and I'm like, dude, what do you mean you threw your 20s away? Like, I understand that they may have not gone the way that you wanted to, or you may have not progressed the way that you envisioned it or whatever, but like, who you are today and the quality that you're putting out now is because of what happened in your 20s.
Yeah.
Like, you are who you are today because of what happened in your 20s. And he's very proud of who he is today. So I'm like, you wouldn't be this. You wouldn't be who you are and who you're proud of right now if if it weren't for your 20s. So like, I think it goes the same, it goes to show, like, when you have lessons like that where you had a video that got 5 million views, that's insane and that's amazing. And yeah, there are ways that you could have maybe stewarded that better, but you didn't know how. You didn't have the knowledge to like do that. But guess what?
So fair.
Now you do.
Yep.
We have to fail over and over and over and over. And anytime I see any of the guys that are in my group fail and they're feeling down about it, I'll say, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I hear what you're saying. And this sucks, and I'm here with you for this moment, like, I'm not saying put your feelings aside, because like, feelings are genuine and they're real, and that's important to live in that for a bit. But like, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna move on from this. We're gonna learn from this, and we're gonna be better because of it."
Yeah, you're 100% right on that as well.
I know.
But
you get me all heated over here, brother.
I was going to say something and I completely forgot what I was going to say now. No, you're all good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're 100% right on that as well. I think it's also I think it's tough as well when you look at like super like high celebrity famous people who
Comparison.
got that luck, yeah, for the comparison. And you look at somebody like the new pop stars that are coming out, rising to the top, who are like mid-20s. It always just feels like somebody's in their late teens, early mid-20s, making millions and millions of dollars, and like fully made it. And you're like, damn, I should have started when I was 6.
Yeah. That's what my buddy always says. He's like, I wish I would have started this journey, because then I could have been there by now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people. Everybody wants a rush, but it is about the journey. But and it always comes back to the same thing of those people that made it to the top. I mean, sure, maybe some of them were like one day to the next, just instantly famous, but a lot of them grinded for hours and hours and years behind the scenes with nobody knowing who they were. And yeah, you only see the tip of the iceberg. You don't see the miles that's below the surface.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah, this got deep.
That's good, man. That's
real.
This is
great. Yeah, this is a great conversation. To round it out, though, so we don't make this I feel like we could just make this a 6-hour podcast.
I don't have 6 hours. I'll tell you that.
To round this out, though, on a funny question that I think I want to start asking everybody.
Oh my gosh.
If you had to describe your streaming setup, but only using food metaphors, how you describe it?
Can you give me an example? Like, can you tell me what yours is first?
Nah, you have to go.
See, I knew you wouldn't even be able to answer your own question.
I can't.
Using food metaphor? What's a food?
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of a food metaphor?
All right, so my setup would be a bowl of spaghetti.
Boy, that I can visualize that. That's crazy.
Because I have no cable management at all.
Okay, I think that's tough, man. That's tough.
It's a good one, though.
But like, bowl of spaghetti is like, that's basically like cheating. Like, that's the obvious.
Okay, well, I can expand on mine then.
Okay.
I use bowl of spaghetti because I have cables everywhere. It's messy. It's sloppy. And you can't really eat it cleanly. The sauce is going down the side of the bowl. Meatballs are on the table. And really only half of it's actually in the bowl. Most of it's on the table.
Yeah.
It's just kind of all over the place.
Okay. See, I feel like I can describe my setup in a more metaphorical way, but pairing it to food is where I'm struggling. So maybe I can explain my setup in a more metaphorical way and you can help me pair it to a food.
All right, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so I feel like my setup is trying to be something that it's not. It's kind of torn. It's like there are parts of my setup that look like they could be very photogenic, where it's like it's trying to look clean on the outside, but on the inside, it's like not super clean. We could run with that somewhere, I think.
Okay.
Like, to give you a few examples, like I have like nice lights and big monitors, and that's great. But then my desk is pulled like 2 feet out from the wall, and there's a tripod behind it, and there's this ugly light. Like, I have the big monitors, but it's on a stack of like 6 children's books to like lift it up. And like, I have a cool big mouse pad, but the mouse pad is filthy. Like, I have 2 PCs, which is great and feels flashy, but the mess of cables underneath is insane. Like,
so you need something with a pretty outside, but like a messy inside.
Yeah.
So what's I'm trying to think. Something. I mean, it could be anything that's like that you bake and it has like a really crisp crust, and then once you cut into it, everything just kind of falls apart.
Could be. What about like I'm trying to think of like. Think about like a dumpling or a pot sticker, where it's like on the outside, pan fried. We'll say pan fried because you see the outside of a pan fried pot sticker and you're like, ooh, like this looks so good on the outside. And I'm not saying what's on the inside tastes bad because it doesn't. But if you cut it up and look at what's on the inside, it's like opening up a McDonald's chicken nugget and knowing that what's on the inside is like trash and probably not good for you. We'll go with that. We'll go with a McDonald's chicken nugget.
I like it. That's funny.
Dumpling or pot sticker is a little classier, but We'll go with
I
one
like
of those.
like the McDonald's chicken nugget. I think that's
There we go.
that's a good one.
You just dip it in some sauce and it's all better.
Yeah, you just add the flavor to the little mess.
Yep. All right.
But
That's
that
my
was,
final
dude, this has
answer.
been a fantastic conversation, though.
Yeah, dude. It's
We'll
been
have
good.
we'll definitely have to do this again because we have like probably hours of more conversations to have.
Yeah, we'll do it at like 100,000 subscribers, and then
Yeah.
maybe I'll have
Yeah,
more to
yeah,
talk about.
So next week. All right, sounds good. But everybody, thank you guys for listening to the podcast. You can find Kiffer at twitch.tv/aka_Kiffer, youtube.com, Insta, Threads, and x.com, Twitter.
X I don't use. I'm gonna be honest. It's there. I don't.
Hey, you
use
got
it.
an account though.
Yep.
But all at aka_Kiffer, KIFFER. Please go check them out. You won't be disappointed. It's always a good time. Streaming multiple times a week and always uploading, so you'll never have a lack of content. You can find me at all my socials. I'm Buddyred. I'm Buddyred on Instagram, and then Buddyred TTV on Twitter, and Buddyred everywhere else on Twitch and YouTube. Thank you guys for listening, and have a fantastic rest of your week. And we'll see you guys in 2 more weeks for the next one. Bye, guys.